When it comes to Father's Day, dads want steak. And the experts at Omaha Steaks are making it easy for you to deliver uncompromising quality with gifts that are sure to make his day. Plus, get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD when you shop at omahasteaks.com today. But don't wait. Father's Day is June 15th. Shop now at omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with code THANKSDAD. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to get some of the takeaways that he's had over the first 2 months of the season. We're going to be diving in on what he's all noticed with regards to some of these teams that have been hot and cold, and we're going to take a look at these games that we've got for Saturday and some of his bets in the final segment. Gonna get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they meet us on matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, we're making sure that bettors are able to access their funds every day for all of their gambling-related transactions 100% of the time, because it is an account that is set up for bettors to be able to just make sure that everything is all on the up and up. When you go to edgeboost.bet, utilize that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Friday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The best over team in all baseball has actually been the Sacramento A's, mainly because they've been giving up a lot of runs, but they do find a way to persevere and get the job done on Friday against the Baltimore Orioles 5-4 after going 1-20 in their last 21 games. 2 straight wins for them as Dean Kramer allows 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Did not allow any homers, but allowed a lot of general contact. Yennier Cano, Keegan Aiken, they both give you an out of the bullpen, and then Sir Anthony Dominguez, Gregory Soto supply scoreless inning apiece. Dylan Carlson off of J.P. Sears gets his 3rd home run season. Then you also had Jackson Holliday get his 8th home run season off of Sears, who gave up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, but a bullpen that has been very awful does their part. Tyler Ferguson, Mason Miller, they combine for 2 scoreless innings, and then Grant Holman, TJ McFarland, they both give you a scoreless inning apiece. You're able to get lots of scoreless innings out of the Colorado Rockies, but still was not enough. 4-2, the New York Mets, they get the job done, and the win streak of the Colorado Rockies, it ends at 3, as for the New York Metropolitans, they do strain 12 men on base, but Kodai Senga was very rock solid. Allows a solo home run over the course of 6 innings of work. Mickey Moniak, his 6th home run in the campaign, and the opener system works for the Colorado Rockies. You had Antonio Senzatella in a bulk appearance give you 4 scoreless innings after Ryan Rolison was able to supply a scoreless inning. Jake Berg, Victor Vodnik, they both lend a scoreless inning, but Tyler Kinley allows 2 runs in his inning of work. Zach Ognos, 2 runs allowed in his inning of work, and for the New York Mets, bullpen does their part as Oscar Brazobin gives up a run in an inning, but Ryan Stanek and Edwin Diaz, they both give you a scoreless inning. For the Miami Marlins, they have not won a game all week long. 4-3, they fall to the Tampa Bay Rays as for Edward Cabrera, not the start he was looking for. 3 runs allowed in 4 innings, albeit only one of which was earned. He was hurt by an error out there in the field. From there, Anthony Veziano, Tyler Phillips, they both on the scoreless inning. George Soriano gives up a run in an inning, and then a pair of home runs for Miami, as you did Augustin Ramirez get his 8th home run season, and Mr. Otto Lopez, his 5th home run season. For Lopez goes deep off of Edwin Uceta, allows 2 runs in a 1/3 of an inning. The other home run was a solo job off of Zach Little, who allows just that solo home run over the course of his 6 innings of work. Manuel Rodriguez, Pete Fairbanks, both on his scoreless inning, and Garrett Clevenger is able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. You're able to get a lot of scoreless innings from the Washington Nationals. As you rest under team right now in all baseball, that would be the old Walker, Texas Rangers. How about 20 overs, 42 unders, and a push? And for the Rangers, 2 total hits in this game. For the Washington Nationals, they win 2-0 with Mike Soroka, 6 scoreless innings. Brad Lord, Orze Ferrer, along Kyle Finnegan, all in a scoreless inning. And Alex Calpasianco first home run of the campaign. He goes deep off of Patrick Corbin, who, against his former team, complete game lost. 2 runs allowed over the course of 8 innings. He actually did his part, but for the Texas Rangers, just nothing doing at the plate whatsoever, and not a lot doing at the plate for the Chicago Cubs on this day as well. The Cubs have been number 1 in terms of runs scoring in all of baseball, but not on this night. 3-1, the Detroit Tigers get the job done with Tariq Skubal, giving another nice start. 1 run allowed in 7 1/3 innings. Wolves 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then you had a pair of home runs for this Detroit Tigers team. Spencer Torkelson goes deep for his 15th home run of the season, and Jahmai Jones was able to get his first home run of the campaign. For the Cubs, pitching overall was not bad. Ben Brown allows 2 runs over the course of 7 innings, including 1 of those home runs. Genesis Cabrera gives up a solo home run in his inning work, but just simply put, nothing doing at the plate for them. Whole lot doing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, though. 5-4, they're able to take down the Philadelphia Phillies as Joe Ross pretty much served as an opener for a full-on bullpen game. He gives up 1 run over the course of 2 innings. Alan Rangel, in his MLB debut, gives up 2 runs over the course of 3 innings, including a home run. Tanner Bakes, a solo home run allowed in his inning of work. Ryan Kerkering, Matt Strom, they both give a scoreless inning, but Jordan Romano, it's been a rough year for him. He gives up the game-winning sacrifice fly to Nick Gonzalez for the Pirates, being able to go yard in this one. Brian Reynolds, 8th home run season. Henry Davis, his 3rd, and Bailey Falter certainly did live up to his name. 4 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. But how about this bullpen performance? Caleb Ferguson, Chase Shogert, a combined 3 score innings. Dennis Santana, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and David Bednar does not poop the Bednar. He gives you a scoreless inning. Yankees Red Sox round number 1 goes the way of the Yankees. 9-3 the finals. Walker Buehler. Not long for this game. 2 innings pitched, 7 runs, 5 of which were earned as he gave up a pair of home runs. Jazz Chisholm gets Jazzy, 9th home run season. Anthony Volpe, 8th home run season. And then off of Cooper Criswell, Paul Goldschmidt, 7th home run of the campaign for Criswell, gives up that solo home run in 3 innings of work. Zach Kelly, 2 scoreless innings. Brandon Bernardino, he goes for an inning, he gives up a run, and for the Red Sox, you did have a pair of bombs in this one, as it was home run number 13 of the season for Rafael Devers, and Marcelo Meyer, his first career home run, a little bit of a young guy there, and for Meyer, he does go deep off of the starter in Will Warren. Warren gives up 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Other home run comes off of Brent Hendrick, who gave up 2 runs in his inning work, but Jonathan Loaiza, Donovan Williams made both on the scoreless inning, and Fernando Cruz was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. This was a game where it was very overwhelming. The White Sox put up a 5 spot in the 8th inning against the Kansas City Royals. They win by a count of 7-2 for the Royals. Pair of errors out there in the field that really costed them. As Seth Lugo, not a bad start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Mike Tauchman went deep off of him, 3rd home run of the campaign. Then Daniel Lynch, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Jonathan Bolin, 5 runs, 3 of which were earned in 1 1/3 innings before Taylor Clark gets an out of the bullpen squirrels. For the Royals, he did have a pair of solo home runs off of Davis Martin. Vinny Pasquantino, 9th home run season, and Mikel Garcia, his 7th for Martin, gives up 2 solo bombs in 6 innings. Brandon Iser, Jordan Leisure, and Bryce Wilson, they're all able to supply a scoreless inning, and nothing doing for the Milwaukee Brewers at the plate. 2-0. They fall to the San Diego Padres as they've ended the game with 10 men left on base. They had that through 7 innings as Chad Patrick, tough luck loser here, as he gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings and he takes a loss. Rob Zanoski and out of the bullpen, and Grant Anderson allows a home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Manny Machado, 9th home run of the season. Jared Koenig, Aaron Ashby, they both give you a scoreless inning. And for Andy Vasquez, 4 2/3 innings, walks 4 but gives up no runs. Wandy Peralta, Jeremiah Estrada combined for 2 scoreless innings. Andre Morahone, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then you had Robert Suarez be able to get a scoreless inning as well. The Atlanta Braves were doomed in by their bullpen pitching once again, 5-4 in extra innings. The San Francisco Giants find a way to get the job done as Spencer Schwellenbach gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in his 6 innings of work. Craig Kimbrell, welcome back to the Atlanta Braves, a scoreless inning. Dylan Lee, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Pierce Johnson allows an unearned run, a game-winning walk-off pitch in this one that allows things to wrap up in 10 innings. And for Matt Olson, he does go deep off of Ryan Walker, 13th home run season for the Giants. Hayden Birdsong gives up 2 runs in 4 1/3 innings, despite giving up 5 walks along the way. Tristan Beck, he had 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Walker gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, but you had Tyler Rogers, Camilo Duvall, both give you a scoreless inning apiece, and then Eric Miller along Spencer Bivens. They combine for that scoreless 10th inning to be able to get that one to the window. For the LA Angels, they've been a pretty rock-solid team in terms of playing some overs free as well. 32 overs, 28 unders, and a push, and they take it to the Seattle Mariners by by a count of 5-4. And for Bryce Miller, since coming out the injured list, he has not looked right. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. From there, Jackson Cowher, scoreless inning. Edward Bazardo, 2 scoreless innings. And for the Seattle Mariners, they do go 2 of 7 with men in scoring position, and they get to the Professor Kyle Hendricks, who gave up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, but Ryan Zephyrian, Reed Detmers, Kenley Jansen, all able to turn scoreless innings. You were able to have the St. Louis Cardinals turn all sorts of scoreless innings as well. 5-0. They take it to the LA Dodgers as Justin Robelski, he's able to deliver 6 innings of length. A little bit surprising there. 4 runs given up, all of which were earned, including a home run to Mr. Pedro Baja's 5th home run season. Then Wilson Contreras, 7th home run season. That one comes off Chris Stratton, solo home run allowed in his inning work. Anthony Banda, a scoreless inning of his own. But for the Dodgers, 1 of 13 with men in scoring position. Sonny Gray, he gave up 8 hits and 6 1/3 innings, but no runs. Jojo Romero from there, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Phil Matone, Steven Matz, they wrap things up by being able to get a scoreless inning apiece. For the Minnesota Twins, they gave up a bit too much to the Toronto Blue Jays. 6-4 the final is for the Blue Jays. You did have a pair of home runs. Edison Barger, 7th home run season, and George Springer, his 9th, both come off of Bailey Ober. For Ober, gives up 5 runs in 7 innings. Justin Topa gives up a run in an inning. Cole Sands, he has the pounding Sands for a scoreless inning, and Trevor Larnach, 10th home run season. That comes off of Paxton Schultz, the opener in this one, gives up 3 runs in 2 innings. From there, things rounded for him, though. Eric Lauer, 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Mason Fluharty, Ariel Rodriguez, they both give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Little comes up somewhat little. He gives up a run in an inning, but Jeff Hoffman, scoreless inning. So the Blue Jays, they do indeed come up big. They find a way to be able to get to the window, and so does the Houston Astros. 4-2, they're able to take it to the Cleveland Guardians as we're using Colton Gordon, the young gun, gets his first career win. 1 run allowed in 5 innings as he did allow 7 hits along the way, but bend but no, don't break was the motto of the Houston Astros in this one. Brian Abreu, Josh Hader, they both on his scoreless inning. Brian King, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Sean Dubin, 1 run allowed in 1 1/3 innings as Brendan Rodgers goes deep off of Logan Allen. 2nd home run of the campaign for Allen. Gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Matthew Fessa, Tim Aaron, Nick Enright, they're all able to end a scoreless inning, but by then it was just a little bit too little too late, and this is a suspended game. I wrote up the Reds on the money line, and we'll never find out how that turns out. 3-3. They are going to be picking up in the 7th inning prior to the game on Saturday as Eduardo Rodriguez off the injured list. Not too bad. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. They give up a home run to TJ Friedel, 5th home run season, then Christian Encarnacion strand off of Mr. Carlos Mena, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Off of Christian Mena, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Mena gives up a home run in his inning of work, and then a pair of home runs for the Diamondbacks off of Nicky Lodolo, who gives one up to Geraldo Perdomo, 7th home run season. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 12th home run season. Lodolo finished all 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, so we will see what we get on Saturday there. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise what we're getting in Major League Baseball, it's been a very underwhelming season, and it's been an underwhelming last 7 days. 50 overs, 41 overs, so that's nearly a 55% hit rate to the under. Favorites hitting at just over 51% to the money line. 48 and 45, and overall the season favorites hitting on the money line 57.6%, 541, 398, and the under continues at right around about 53.5%, 485 unders to 421 overs. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we all got on Friday. Now let's talk about Saturday's games and the observations of our good friend Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That's up next right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Decent Family Podcast.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VEASAN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Dylan Rockford aboard. He does a tremendous job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, and he does a great job on so many different fronts. As I know that he's taking a look at some combat sports with doing the X Kicks Picks show / podcast. I know he does a great job in terms of just so many different things with regards to the Dream Wager as well, and you're able to follow him on Twitter /X at Rock with 2 Ks and the number 24 altogether. And Dylan, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And I know you're in a very good mood because we've had day baseball today. How are we doing on your side?
Absolutely. And I am doing well. And if the day ends in the letter Y, we need a day game. So
absolutely,
thank goodness gracious for that on Friday. And certainly when you get to the weekend, you get a bunch of that. And I do think that it is a really interesting dynamic to take a look at in terms of the team that we did see on Friday lose in the Miami Marlins, as the Colorado Rockies have been the biggest punching bag in all of baseball, and they punched them up. And how do we look at the Marlins now moving forward? Because they just look sad and pathetic right now.
Yeah, it's sad. You can't back the Marlins at this juncture. Their pitching is not good. They can't score runs to save their life right now. I mean, they lost on a heartbreaker. They got swept. They didn't score more than 4 runs against the Colorado Rockies. They're bad right now. They've lost 5, 6 in a row. Not good to start the month of June off. And we might talk about it on Saturday, but Ryan Weathers, who I think has been serviceable, you can't even back him at a nice plus price either, because you just don't trust this offense to score any runs to be competitive. So yeah, they're on my do not bet list for the time being right now.
And we've actually got a lot of those pitchers that are going to be taking the mound on Saturday, because Jacob deGrom has been tremendous for the Rangers, but the offense behind him has not necessarily been so great. So I think that that's another one. Now, Hunter Brown, he's been on an Astros team there. It's been a little bit up and down, and I feel like he's a little bit more backable, but it does feel like there's a lot of pitchers this year that have been doing a rock solid job. Even Andrew Heaney for the Pirates. I'm not saying he's been amazing, but he's been serviceable, but the Pirates can't score any runs for them. It just feels like that's a big theme for Saturday. These guys that have been solid pitchers, but they just have no offense around them.
100%. And I think last time maybe I was on the pod, we were talking about why have we seen a lot of unders recently as the weather gets warmer. Love a lot of unders for Saturday as well, because of what you mentioned. Pitchers who have been serviceable, they don't get any run support. I feel bad for a guy like Andrew Heaney. Now, he's not the most successful pitcher, but for a bad organization like Pittsburgh is, him and Paul Skeens have been the 2 bright stars for this team. So the value is with them, but you just can't trust them to get any run support. And I don't know if you watched the game the other night. How the hell did the Rangers lose on that infield hit? I mean, they just invent ways. Honestly, at this point on the road, I don't care how good Jacob deGrom is, especially when healthy as a dominant pitcher. You just can't trust the Rangers on the road to score. And I think Mitchell Parker, he's shown some signs, but the value has to be with the Nationals at this point. You just can't back the Rangers.
Yeah, it's really rough to say the least, and I am in full agreement with you there. And I mean, for Jacob deGrom, he's been absolutely tremendous, but I mean, what are you going to be able to get out of those other guys? Same goes for Ryan Weathers and the Miami Marlins. And how do you take a look at these games being played in Tampa now? Because as we know, the weather is starting to heat up. The offense, it feels like it's been heating up as well with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I think that that's going to be an interesting dynamic this summer, because whereas with the Tampa Bay Rays, it used to be a lot more of an under team with those games at the top, now in a whole different ballpark given the circumstances this year. I think that certainly is going to be changing the handicap of these Rays games a little bit more from past years.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But I mean, even if we look at Saturday with Bradley and Weathers, the totals I see at 9. My total only came out to 8.4. I think it was a little respective to Ryan Weathers, but not the biggest Taj Bradley fan. Even with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out at Steinbrenner Field, if you look at the history of this year for the Tampa Bay Rays, they have been an under team, 23-14 towards the over. I mean, yes, they are the hotter and more consistent team, but I mean, they've only scored more than 5 runs one time in the past week. Even though they're winning, they're not blowing the doors off of you. And then Miami offensively, they can't score more than 4 runs, even against the Colorado Rockies. So even with the winds blowing, I like Ryan Weathers. For the first game on Saturday, I kind of like the under 9. My total came out to 8.4.
Yeah, it's really rough as well. Like, I would have been willing to take an 8.5 over, but at a 9, I'm right there with you. It was just a no-go for me. And maybe when we get games that don't involve the Miami Marlins, it progresses a little bit more. But
Yeah.
that one I think is very interesting. As joining me on the show, we do have one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And another one of these teams that just provides their pitchers with not a lot of run support. How about the Royals? They did bust out a little bit more towards back half of that series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Credit is due there. But now we've got Michael Wacha going up against Adrian Hauser. For the Royals, are about a minus 150 or so favorite. Total on this game is 8. How do you take a look at this game with a guy in Wacha who's not necessarily getting a bunch of strikeouts, but has been highly effective? And I don't know where this has come from. You're a Mets fan. I'm a Brewers fan. We're both very familiar with Adrian Hauser. And all of a sudden, it feels like he's found the fountain of life.
I mean, picking him off the street, and he's just been...
He wasn't even good at the AAA level before this.
Oh, my God. They struck a gold mine with this guy. I mean, because he wasn't good when he was with the Brewers. He wasn't good with the Mets. I'm glad. I'm actually happy for Adrian Hauser, if I'm being honest. But, I mean, I see some 8.5s. I know you said you see an 8 at minus 115, minus 130. I see an 8.5. I think the Royals should win this game. I do think Michael Wacha has been kind of one of the most stabilizing forces for the Royals pitching staff. And Kansas City Royals, I mean, credit to them. I mean, they're not a good team, but 14-17 at home. They have been a little pesky at home in Chicago. Now, they do struggle to score some runs, which is why I kind of lean under 8.5. My total came out to 8.1, but I think Hauser has been good. Michael Wacha's been good. Maybe in the first 5, you see a first few times through the lineup, I think we see a first 5 under. That's kind of how I would attack this game. But I do think the Royals should win this game quite comfortably as well, especially on the run line. I mean, plus 115 I'm seeing. I think that's a nice price in the run line.
Yep, and with the Kansas City Royals, getting that plus number I think is big because their bullpen has been absolutely magnificent. And how have you had to just take a look at some of these interesting bullpens this year? Because it feels like some of the ones that have been so reliable for so long, like the Brewers and the Guardians, have went straight down the toilet bowl this year. And with the Kansas City Royals, when have we ever talked about them having a good bullpen? But they've been one of the best in all of baseball.
Yeah, they have a top 5 bullpen in the league.
Heck, the Mets are always unreliable in the bullpen, and they've been great this year.
288. I was just going to give us some flowers, so I appreciate that. Yeah, and honestly, speaking of the Mets real quick, don't want to talk about them too much, but I liked what I saw from Paul Blackburn the other day. Coming back, 5 scoreless innings, and I liked his conference after the game. I think it was a very realistic answer. You're getting a lot of guys back. Clay Holmes been good. Tromanai is coming back very soon. Kodai Senga's been good. David Peterson's been a top 5 pitcher, I think, ERA-wise. And I think he's very realistic, saying, hey, listen, they might move him to the bullpen. So for a top 5 bullpen in the Mets to get another arm like Paul Blackburn, I think that could go really far. And heck, Toronto, they've been really good. They've been impressive. I never really thought Toronto had a good bullpen, but they've really developed into a really good bullpen as well. Boston, I've been kind of surprised how bad the Yankees bullpen has been. I know they've been playing some good baseball, but usually they're in a top 5, top 10 bullpen, but they've kind of bloomed up. You never know what you're going to get from Devin Williams either. Seattle's kind of been a surprise. I know they're not playing good baseball right now. They don't really have a good bullpen. Right before we came on, I mean, Corbin Burns. I guess a question to you: What do they do moving forward? You go all in on a starting pitcher like Corbin Burns. He's out for the season now. I know they're getting hot, but this next month, I think is going to be very telling because are they buyers at the deadline or do they just kind of tank it?
And it's so interesting with so many of these teams as well, because I do think that there are a few teams that are sort of in that dynamic of the next 6 weeks is really going to form where they're going to be, because the Atlanta Braves are one of those teams that is 7 games below 500, but you know that they don't want to punt unless if they absolutely need to. The Cincinnati Reds are a few games under 500, but how long are they going to have Terry Francona as their manager? The entire American League, not named the Chicago White Sox and the Athletics, what do they do moving forward? I think that there's a lot of interesting teams that are sort of in that no man's land, and we're going to find out in the next month if they're for real or not.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned it. Even the Baltimore Orioles, I know they're on a hot streak, but I still don't trust their bullpen moving forward. Philly, they've never really had a good bullpen either. And Milwaukee. Yes, Milwaukee's one of the hottest teams right now, 9-1 in their last 10, but I still really don't trust their bullpen either. So I agree. I think these next 6 weeks are going to be very telling for some of these teams.
No question about it. Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I do think that this is going to be a very fun one as well, because you mentioned the Brewers. They've got Jose Quintana on the bump for them against Stephen Kolek, and the Brewers are a very slight minus 110, minus 115 favorite, total of 8.5. What do we make out of this one? And a guy in Quintana, It just feels like at some point the air is going to be going out of the balloon for him, but it feels like every single time I say that, he goes out there, he gets like one strikeout in 6 innings and just gets a bunch of soft contact.
Yeah, I think I got to take the Brewers here, minus 110. And money's coming the other way. I know it opened up at minus 115. My numbers made him a minus 120 favorite here. I know he only pitched one time the last month, but I like him more than Steven Kolek right now, who I'm not the biggest Steven Kolek fan, if I'm being honest. And I know the Padres offense, they develop a lot of upside to them, but I still don't trust them. They've lost 2 games in a row. I think it should be a close game. Actually, I like the over. I made my total 9.1, so I do think we'll see some runs because I do agree. Jose Quintana, at some point, regression is going to come for him. So I like the over 8.5. I know it opened at 8. I do agree on the line move going up to 8.5, but I do think Brewers are going to win. I'm going to go with momentum here, just like the Baltimore Orioles in that game. But yeah, I like the Brewers here, and I like the over as well.
Yep, I think that those are 2 very solid looks, and I think that that is going to be a fun one for Saturday, and I do think that this is going to be very interesting to take a look at for Saturday because with the Colorado Rockies, they entered in Friday in a 3-game win streak. I think that's going to be coming to an end here against the New York Mets, and the bookmakers think so as well, as the Mets are about a minus 275 favorite on the money line. That initial run line I'm seeing at like a minus 185, and how do you bet these games moving forward with these teams like the Colorado Rockies and the Chicago White Sox that you're finding massive plus numbers on them? And these are 2 teams I don't want to be taking those massive plus numbers on them unless if there's some big giant exception.
Yeah, I think we got to be a little sneaky or a little creative the way we bet against the Rockies at this point because at minus 1.5, I see minus 178, minus 180. You can't even take that anymore. You got to either lay the 2.5, and even that might be minus money. So you got to bet totals. I like the 10.5 over at minus 120. My total came out to 11.3. Carson Palmquist is a complete fade for me. I don't like the Mets team total over just because it's going to be really high. It's going to be around 6.5, 7 with this high total. So I do think the Mets bats have, especially Pete Alonso, he has been on fire the past few games as well. So I think the offense is starting to heat up, coming back after a very competitive series against the Dodgers. I do think we'll see a very high scoring game in elevation. So, and I think the Rockies will be able to give us 2-3 runs, but yeah, I like the over 10.5.
I don't blame you there because man, Carson Palmquist might give that up all by himself. And yeah, I think this is really interesting as well. Being able to gauge the Seattle Mariners with them sending Luis Castillo to the bump and Jack Conowitz going for the Angels. Right now, most places have a 9 total. I'm seeing a few 8.5s out there as well. How do you play a game like this where Seattle's been pretty rock solid with their offense and I just don't trust in Jack Conowitz whatsoever for the Angels, but the Angels are hitting a bunch of deep balls too.
If anything, Cal Raleigh home run, big dumper. I mean, this guy's been fantastic, but yeah, it's just hard to bet any of these teams because St. Louis doesn't look good and Jack Conowitz, you know, you and I, we joke about the Rockies being a AA and AAA team. This is a AA pitcher, Jack Conowitz. I don't like him at all. Maybe this is a good spot for the Seattle offense to kind of find its rhythm a little bit. So I do think the Mariners should win. I don't want to back him at a minus 158. My numbers only made him a minus 135 favorite, but I also don't feel confident in backing the Angels here at home. So I don't know. It's a stay away from me. I don't even like the total. I feel like the total, I see 8.5. If anything, I'd bet the over 8.5. I do think we'll be able to score some runs, but my total came out to 8.8. So I feel like the total is spot on as well. That was a very tough game to handicap.
Yeah, some of these games are, especially out there in the AL West, where it feels like these teams are a little bit of a hodgepodge, but the one team that is not is the Athletics, who they have just been so awful. We don't know what we're going to be getting out of them moving forward because they haven't been announcing any of their pitchers until like the day of the game. How do you take a look at these A's games where we know that they have been as cold as an igloo, 2-20 in their last 22 games going into Friday, but you can't even bet them overnight because they refuse to list a pitcher.
It's a dysfunctional organization. It's so bad right now, and I do think it's Luis Severino. And if it
should be, but the game is off the board as we record this.
I know. That's what's tricky about handicapping these games. And if it is, then I think it's Uncle Charlie going for the O's. 2 pitchers that have over a 6 ERA. I mean, yeah, Luis Severino has been actually, crazy enough, has been much better on the road, but at home, he has been terrible. I think we just got to blindly bet the overs in Sacramento. 21-11 towards the over at home for the A's. So they have the worst bullpen in the league, and it doesn't matter who pitches for them. They just give up a ton of hard contact. So they'll be able to score some runs. I know that last night they were able to score 14 runs off the Twins, but I think that game was much of an outlier. But I think we just got to blindly bet the over until they show us differently.
Yeah, and with the Athletics, their bullpen has been not great, to say the least. And is there anything else that you're going to be taking a look at on this Baseball Saturday where we've got a pretty loaded slate?
Yeah, I think there's one game that I really like. It's actually between a very good pitching matchup, I think, between, you mentioned them earlier in the show, Andrew Heaney and Ranger Suarez, the Phillies and the Pirates. I like the under 8.5. I think the number is a little high with these two pitchers. Andrew Heaney, he's been very serviceable. Ranger Suarez has been good as well. We know how the Pirates struggle offensively. Phillies aren't playing the best baseball either. I know they went on a little winning streak about 2 weeks ago. They've been inconsistent scoring the baseball as well. So I think the value is with the home dog in the Phillies. I just don't trust them to score any runs offensively. So my total came out to 7.4. So 8.5. I got to go under here. I know the Phillies don't have the best bullpen, but I got to go under here. The total is just way too high.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I felt like this total should have been below 8 myself. So seeing an 8.5, that was very surprising. And Ranger Suarez, since that rough first start of the season, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in his last 5 starts. And he's going up against a Pittsburgh Pirates team that they're not scoring right now. But a man that always scores points in my book because he does a great job breaking down baseball is you, Dylan. Let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we got a big weekend in the sports world. We got the Belmont Stakes, MLB full slate, NBA finals, NHL Stanley Cup finals. You got UFC 316 right here in Newark, New Jersey. So loaded slate. You guys can find me and all my plays on X, the Everything app, at Rock with 2Ks24. And Greg, you're a beast, and I appreciate you for having me.
Always great to be able to get Dylan aboard. He does an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Dylan Rockford. He does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do start things off with 9-1, 9-2 on the betting board. The LA Dodgers are going to be hitting the road to face off against the St. Louis Cardinals. Eric Fetty-Wap is on the bump for the Cardinals. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers do find themselves between minus 180 to minus 190 favorites, between plus 152 to a plus 165 is that number on St. Louis. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. This up I told it at 8.2, so here at the 8, I'm going to be willing to dive in on the over if you're willing to lay a run half with the LA Dodgers. Again, you get these FanDuel run line openers that I always have to utilize when this podcast comes out, but that said, right now you're finding it at a minus 111. We're pretty close there. If we could get down to a minus 108, even a minus 110, I'd be willing to lay. So I do think that when it's all said and done, I should be able to land on a run line of the LA Dodgers. And with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, this guy has been absolutely tremendous since coming over from Japan, and he's been a really good road pitcher as well. He's right now posting up a sub-235 ERA on the road this season. He's giving up fewer than 2 walks per 9 innings. He's been able to do a nice job in terms of getting you that swing and miss stuff right around about 10 punch-outs per 9 innings, and additionally, he's been able to control the deep ball, giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. Is coming off a little bit of a rough start against the New York Yankees, but 3 runs or fewer allowed in all but 2 of his starts thus far this season. And Eric Fetty, not a guy that's going to go out there and get you a bunch of Ks or anything like that, but he's been keeping the ball in the yard this season. He's given up less than a home run per 9 innings. 5.8 strikeouts at 3.8 walks per 9 innings is concerning. 3.82 ERA, 4.29 fielding independent, but he's been able to round into form. He's been able to do a solid job in terms of being able to control some of those walks as well. A combined 4 walks over the last 3 starts, and he's backed up by a bullpen that I think is turning the corner a little bit for St. Louis. For St. Louis, the bullpen has been up, down, all around, but you've got Phil Matone, Kyle Leahy, who have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. You've been able to get really good production out of Ryan Helsley out of the closer's role for a few years. Now, when you have guys like Matt Savinson and company, it gets a little bit dicey there, and for the LA Dodgers, they had to use up quite a bit of the bullpen yesterday because they had Justin Robelski starting for them, and for the Dodgers, you want to talk about bullpen issues, man. Kirby Yates, Luis Garcia, Michael Kopech, Blake Tryon, Broussard Gratterall, like all these guys are hurt, so you're relying a lot on Ben Casparis along Jack Dreyer, who are 2 long guys that will be able to give you a sub-3.2 ERA. Tanner Scott has been a disaster this year, north of a 4 ERA, but that said, with the LA Dodgers, you know it's not a disaster. The fact that this lineup is just able to slug you out. Right now, averaging 5.7 runs per contest, that is number 2 in all of baseball. You got Shohei Ohtani doing Shohei Ohtani things, being able to give you 23 home runs, nearly a 400 on base. You know that you're going to be fine there. And Andy Paz has been really good for the team as well. Mr. Paz, 12 home runs, hitting for nearly a 290. Mookie Betts is honestly down for his standards, about a 345 on base, but Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, they're getting jiggy with it, north of a 430 on base. Both of these guys have been able to give you functional power. Tommy Edman, he's off the injured list. He's been able to give you some power. Now, they've got a Michael Conforto issue, .67 batting average for 3 home runs. You need to get a little bit more there, but after a rough start to the season, Max Muncy is starting to heat up as well. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, one of the big issues that you do have with this team is that, for lack of a better term, they're powerless. And by that, I mean, right now, Lars Nootbaar is leading the way with 8 home runs this far this season. Lots of guys with between 6 and 7 home runs. Ivan Herrera spent a lot of time on the injured list. Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Mason Wynn, and Wynn is giving you about a 350 on base, but Arenado's hitting about a 230. Wilson Contreras, after a rough start to the season, he's starting to move the line a little bit more, and then you've been able to have Brandon Donovan give you a 380 on base. Always had some pretty demonstrative home and road splits himself, but I do think that for Yamamoto, goes out there, gets the job done. I do think that the Dodgers get to Eric Fetty, who's given up a lot of contact in general, so here at the 8, I do like the over, and for the Dodgers, willing to lay up to a -110 on that run line. 9-3, 9-4 on the betting board. The Atlanta Braves are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants. Bryce Elder hopes to not be elderly for the Atlanta Braves, and for the Braves, they're anywhere between +140 to a +150, anywhere between -160 to -175. That number on San Francisco. 7.5 is the total, under is -120, and the over is even. Again, you've got the always funky openers with regards to the run line, and right now, if you're looking to lay a run half with the Giants, you're getting a +130, and sign me up. I was willing to take anything of a +110 or higher for Logan Webb. Always so much more dominant at home rather than on the road. He took a tough luck, I believe, loss/no decision as the team lost his last start, despite the fact that he shoved for 8 innings and he did his part. So they're going to need to give him a little bit more support. He did have that one wonky start against the Kansas City Royals where he was less than savory. He gave up 6 runs, 3 of which were earned, but you do take a look at the career numbers for Logan Webb. This goes all the way back to the beginning of the 2019 season. How about a 2.63 home ERA, 4.06 ERA on the road, giving up less than 0.4 home runs per 9 innings at home. This guy is just absolutely remarkable, and this season he's been able to take it to another level with getting to north of 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, allowing fewer than 2 walks per 9, so he has been right there. And for Bryce Elder, I mean, he's been a little bit better than he was last year, but it's not like he's been anything amazing for this team. As for Bryce Elder, right now he's posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about 4.56. Fielding opponents on par with that. 7 strikeouts to 3 walks per 9 innings, 1.5 bombs given up per 9, and you have to wonder about the psyche of the Atlanta Braves after less than 72 hours ago, they blew a 6-run lead against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 9th inning. Very much less than tremendous there. And for the Atlanta Braves, getting back Ronald Acuna Jr., very rock solid. He's been able to give you a 400 on base, 4 home runs in his first 10 games back, so you like that. Austin Riley, he's been able to do a nice job, double-figure amount of homers. He's giving you about a 275 average. Matt Olson not hitting for the world's greatest amount of average, but he's been able to supply 12 home runs as well. They've been mixing and matching with some of these pieces, as Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, they need to give you a little bit more, especially Harris, 260 on base with 3 home runs. It's just really not cutting it. Alex Verdugo's doing a solid job, move the line, hitting about 260, but we've seen regression with Eli White towards the bottom of the lineup. Same with Nick Allen. You've had Marcell Ozuna, though, be a steady Eddie guy with a 400 on base, and for the Atlanta Braves, going into that game against the Diamondbacks a few days ago, I was actually saying that the bullpen wasn't too bad, but now you have to place Desmond Hernandez on the injury list, and you replace him with Craig flippin' Kimbrell. That's not a place where you want to be. They're looking to Zach Thompson to be able to give you some innings. That's not great. I like Dylan Lee. His sub-250 ERA, and Daniel De Los Santos has actually not been too shabby for the team this season, but Raisel Iglesias has been an abject disaster for this team. I do think that on the flip side for the Giants, that's really the big advantage that you've got. This team is number one in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Just so many guys are able to come in out of this bullpen and give you functional good innings. As you just take a look at guys like Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, Randy Rodriguez, Camilo Duvall, all these guys posting up a sub 175 ERA. Spencer Bivens is a relatively good long guy that's able to give you a sub 325 as well. And for the Giants, it can be a little bit hit or miss with the lineup, but you've got a trio of different guys between 10 and 11 home runs. Eloy Ramos, Wilmer Flores, Matt Chapman. Chapman is giving you a 358 on base along with Ramos. Ramos hits for a little bit more average, but the big thing for the Giants, just sorting out things at the bottom of the fold. Guys like Lamont Wade Jr., Patrick Bailey, Luis Matos, hitting below the middle sign of 200. Sam Huff, when he's gotten opportunities, they've been few and far between. Hasn't necessarily been great either, so they need to mix and match there. Mikey Yastrzemski has seen a bit of regression with the way that he's getting on base, and same with Jungle Lee, but that said, I do think that for the Giants, they do go out there, get the job done against the Braves, and I do think that Bryce Elder holds the ball in the yard, very much a pitcher-friendly ballpark, so I told 7.2 here at the 7.5, I like the under, and at a plus 110 or better, looking at that Giants run line. 9-5, 9-6 on the betting board. It is the Philadelphia Phillies on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andrew Heaney goes for the Buccos, and Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies are a very sizable favorite, anywhere between minus 170 to a minus 182, and between plus 148 to a plus 157 is that number on Pittsburgh. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105, and with the Phillies, made them a minus 154 favorite, so now that we're getting a plus 155 or higher, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Pirates on the money line. Now, for Ranger Suarez, he has been very rock solid. This is by no means a fade of him, as far as the season for Mr. Ranger Suarez, he's been posting up a sub 3 ERA, but you take that first start out of the fold. He went like 3 innings and gave up 7 runs. First start off the injured list. He has been rock solid ever since, and as in his last 5 starts following up that one, just 4 earned runs given up, 5 runs in total. He has been really doing a nice job of giving you right around about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, keeping the walks down, keeping the ball in the yard, and that's actually been the big thing for Andrew Heaney as well. Andrew Heaney throughout his career gives up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's down to about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings this year. That's the lowest that it's been in about a decade. He's giving you about a 3.39 ERA now. The strikeout numbers are down. He's only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Typically, he's clocking in north of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but you also have to have some trust issues with really both of these bullpens. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, entering into Friday, 24th in the big leagues with a 4.46 bullpen ERA, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, entering into the day, they were right around 25th with a 4.56 bullpen ERA. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Jose Alvarado getting popped because he was using weight loss supplements, less than savory there. You've had Orion Kirkering be able to come into his own after a rough start to the season. He's gotten that ERA back down to below a 3.30, but Matt Strom has really been going through it over the last few weeks, and now you're looking to someone like a Jordan Romano to give you good innings. That's not the place where you really want to be. They're looking at Max Lazer to be able to fill some innings too, so I mean, it's been very much less than savory, and they had to start Joe Ross yesterday, so not where you want to be. Meanwhile, for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's just really been a lot of a lack of power outside of Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber has been amazing. 19 home runs, 387 on base, and then Bryce Harper, 9 home runs, about a 370 on base. Nobody else with north of 7 home runs on the team. And Trey Turner, he did have a multi-home run game in that series against the Blue Jays. 7 bombs, he's hitting a 300, and these guys are still moving line. Like, Alec Boehm is hitting a 275. You've been able to get some good production out of Armando Sosa when he's gotten at bats. You've had someone like Bryson Stott be a little bit up, down, all around, but I think that he's going to start to find it again. Nick Castellanos is hitting a 285, but that home run ball just has not been there for them, and they don't necessarily swipe a ton of bags. And then on the flip side, you've got a Pittsburgh Pirates team that is right now averaging about 3.1 runs per game at home. They are dead last in the National League in terms of runs per game at home because of how Red Rockies at elevation, they just seemingly score there. You've got Oneil Cruz, 22 stolen bags, 12 home runs, 350 on base. Ryan Reynolds with 7 home runs. But other than these two guys and Andrew McCutchen, nobody on the roster with north of 3 home runs this year. That's an issue. And it's not like these guys are doing an amazing job of getting on base. You've got the likes of Jared Trollo, Henry Davis, Henry Rodriguez, Emmanuel Valdez, Tommy Pham, all hitting below a 210 right now. So you need a bit more there. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is sitting at 300, so you've been able to get a bit of something out of him. Brian Hayes has been a disaster for the team as well, so that's a bit of an issue. That said, just no faith in this Phillies bullpen whatsoever. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's not a great bullpen of their own, but Dennis Santana has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. You've been able to get some solid innings out of Chase Shogert. He's been a little bit up and down, but he's been able to round it for him. David Bednar has been a little bit better recently, so I'll give you about 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So getting a plus 155 or better. Looking at the Buccos on the money line, set a low total here of a 7.7, so I'm going to be in on that under 907, 908 on the big board. The Arizona Diamondbacks hit the road, they're facing off against the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. It's on to Nick Martinez on the bump for them, and Ryan Nelson goes for Arizona. Arizona, slight favorites, anywhere between minus 114 to a minus 116, anywhere between minus 105 to a plus 105 is that number on Cincinnati. 9.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I set the Reds at a minus 134. I'm going to be willing to back them on the money line. Now, Ryan Nelson has been mostly utilized out of the bullpen, but he's made 3 starts and he's been fine. 3.43 ERA. Fielding independence actually a little bit lower than that. He's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. Not necessarily going to give you a whole bunch of swings and misses or anything like that, as he's been giving you about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But you know what? He's doing a nice job holding down the fort, and he's been able to give you good innings, but he's also backed up by a bullpen with a 5.25 ERA, which is 27th in the big leagues. And Ryan Nelson has went north of 6 innings in his start this season, but they just utilized him in the bullpen for a little bit of a long appearance a few days ago as well. So you have to wonder how deep he's going to be able to go in this game, and this is just, in general, an Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen that is not good. This bullpen is currently 27th in the big leagues with a 5.25 ERA. Having A.J. Puck out of the lineup has really been hurting this team, as he was really your main closer. You've been able to have Justin Martinez come off the injured list, along Kendall Graveman. These two guys have been able to give you some good production. They're giving you a sub-3.5 ERA, but it's been survival of the fittest, as they had pretty much let go of Ryan Thompson. I believe that he's been giving you about a 5.5 ERA, and they just have not been giving him as many appearances as in the past. Juan Murillo has been posting up north of a 5 ERA. They're looking to Tommy Henry to give you long appearances. This is not great, to say the least. Jalen Beeks has been relatively okay, but overall this has been a very shaky bullpen, to say the least. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, what's not shaky is this lineup. Still one of the best teams at being able to slug the ball in all of baseball. Right now averaging about 5.2 runs per game away from home. That is number 2 in the National League, as you've got a pair of guys in Corbin Carroll along with Eugenio Suarez, who've been able to combine for 34 home runs this season. Suarez not necessarily hitting for a ton of contact, but he's been able to give you a whole bunch of power. Additionally, you've been able to get a lot of guys that have been able to move the line for you, as you're dealing with a little bit of an injury to Josh Chandler, but he's been able to hit just below 300 for the team. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, he's done an amazing job being able to give you north of a 4-arm base. Dealt with a lot of injury throughout the season, but 11 home runs at about 127 at-bats, so he's been able to do a good job there. You've got Gabriel Moreno hitting for about a 280, Geraldo Perdomo north of 370 on base, but for the Cincinnati Reds, I do think that this bullpen being a little bit better helps them out. Ryan Richardson has been able to give you sub 2 ERA. Now, Graham Ashcraft has been not so tremendous, to say the least. He's been a load of Ashcraft, as he's right now giving you well north of a 4 ERA, so you need to get a little bit more there. But that said, someone like Taylor Rogers, Tony Santillan, these guys have been rock solid. And then you've got Ellie De La Cruz, who's been able to do a nice job in terms of giving you 12 home runs, nearly 20 stolen bases, 340 on base, and having the duo of TJ Friedel along with also Gavin Lux being able to give you north of a 375 on base has been key, and you haven't been able to get a lot of power out of these guys, but at the very least they're getting on. You've been able to have Santiago Espinal do an okay job of being able to find a way on, though you could use a little bit more than 245 for a guy that is hitting for 0 home runs as far this season. But I do think that for the Reds, they're going to get a good start out of Nick Martinez, who's been supplying you with a ERA that's hovering right around about a 389, but fielding independent is a 358. He's not making costly mistakes, only about 2 walks per 9 innings, 0.8 home runs per 9. Now, he is not necessarily a strikeout artist, fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I do think that he's going to do a nice job holding it down against this Arizona Diamondbacks team, and I do think that the Reds are going to be winning a relatively high-scoring game, as I do think that the bullpen of the Diamondbacks really going to give this one up. I set my money line at a minus 134, so I'm looking there, and now we're seeing this total at 9.5. I set my total at 9.4, so here at the 9.5, that becomes my buy point on the under. 909, 910 on the betting board. It is the Slam Diego Padres on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers, as Jose Quintana Quintana is on the bump for the Brewers. Steven Golick is on the bump for the Padres. The Padres are a very slim underdog, even money to -105 on them, between -110 to -115. That number on the Brew Crew, and 8.5 is the total. You're finding that over and under anywhere between -105 to a -115. And for the Brewers, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them at a -110 or better. Set my money line at a -111. For Jose Quintana, I continue to think that he's doing for regression. This guy is giving up a lot of general contact, and he's been getting away with it. 2.77 ERA, but a 4.51 fielding independent, 1.2 home runs at 3.5 walks per 9 innings. But Steven Golick is also giving up a lot of contact as well. Only about 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up 3 walks per 9 as well. And for the San Diego Padres, this has been a pretty pedestrian lineup this season. You got 2 guys who are really slugging it out, in Fernando Tatis Jr. along Gavin Sheets. These 2 guys have been able to give you a combined 24 home runs this season. But Manny Machado, even though he's hitting above 300, power numbers are way down. He's been between 7 and 8 home runs here in the last few days. You've been able to get quite a bit in terms of moving line and getting on base out of Jackson Merrill, but again, not necessarily a ton of power. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base, and Xander Bogaerts continues to be a waste of money. 3 home runs, hitting for a 240. You expect a little bit more there. Now, for the Padres, this has been a very good bullpen. They are a top 10 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Audrey Motohone, along with Yuki Matsui, are able to give you some nice long relief. They're both able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Additionally, you've got Jeremiah Estrada, who's been rock solid in that bullpen. He's giving you less than a 2.75 ERA. Jason Adam, sub 2 ERA. Robert Suarez has been a good closer as well. And for the Brewers, this has been a shaky bullpen. They are in the bottom 10 in terms of their bullpen ERA. Yopai himself, Figueroa, who were so good for them last year, they just completely pooped the bed this season. And you've had Jared Koenig be a little bit up down all around for this team, and you've just had a lot of general injuries as well. As I know that Brian Hudson has been dealing with a few of them. He's currently down at the minor league level. Rob Zanoski, though, he's been making a few appearances and he's been solid. 8 appearances without allowing a run. Trevor McGill, Nick Mears have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Abner Uribe has been rock solid. And for the Brewers, this team does one thing really well. They swipe bags, as you've got 3 separate guys: Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, Bryce Terang, who are all able to give you a double-figure amount of stolen bases. And Christian Yelich has really had a little bit of a rebirth. 13 home runs this season, still not hitting for the world's greatest amount of average, but those power numbers are starting to go northward. You've got a lot of guys that are just doing a good job finding way on base. Rhys Hoskins, along with William Contreras, both giving you north of a 350 on base. Tarango, I mentioned before, 360 on base as well. The guys like Caleb Durbin, along with Isaac Collins in the infield, they need to give you a little bit more. But overall, I do think that the Brewers find a way to be able to get to Steven Golick, and I do think that though Quintana gives up some runs, I think that Golick does as well. Set my total at 8.8. I like the over, and the Brewers up to a -110 on that money line. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the New York Metropolitans on the road against the Colorado Rockies. Carson Baumquist is on the bump for the Rockies, and Clay Holmes goes for the Mets, and the Mets are very, very sizable favorites, anywhere between -260 to a -280, as good as a plus 225. And as low as a plus 220, that number on the Rockies actually starting to see some plus 230 out there as well. Total on this game, it is 11. The under is between -110 to a -115. The over is between -105 to a -110. And your hilariously large -1.5 run line number is currently a -184, and I set mine north of -$2. I'd actually be willing to go up to about a -220 here. Carson Palmquist does not belong on a big league mound right now, and for Carson Palmquist, he does have some good swing and miss stuff. I will actually give him that, but yeah, the command is not too good, and when he misses badly, as right now he's rocking an 8.50 ERA, 4 starts, 4 losses. He's given up 5 walks per 9 innings. He's got about 7 punch-outs per 9, so it's starting to get there, but still 4 home runs at his first 4 starts, not really filling a lot of innings. Now, I will say this about the Colorado Rockies. If there's one thing that they've done halfway decent, the bullpen hasn't been terrible. Zach Ognos has actually been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Jimmy Ergin has been relatively rock solid as well. You've got these guys that you're able to mix and match with in the bullpen. Victor Vodnik is coming off the injury list, so that helps them out, and they do have a few more respectable players in this lineup as you sign Orlando Arcia and Thairo Estrada. But again, if your lineup is being elevated by Orlando Arcia and Thairo Estrada, where is your team really at? And for this Colorado Rockies team, obviously they do a much better job of hitting at home rather than on the road. On the road, they've been hitting below the Bedose line 200, at home more like a 242, so the batting average goes up by about 40 points as collective. And Ryan McMahon, who hits well below a 200 when he's on the road, he's hitting about a 270 at home. You've had a few guys just still really struggle when they've been in Colorado. Kyle Farmer, Mickey Moniak, Cadell Amador, who they sent down to the minor league level, all hitting at 220 or lower, but Hunter Goodman, Brenton Doyle are hitting in that neighborhood about a 305 with regards to on base. Not a ton of power for the Rockies at home. 26 bombs in 28 games at home, so you just expect a little bit more there. And for the Metropolitans, you've been able to have Juan Soto be able to get online. He's been able to give you 4 home runs over the last 8 or so days. Still been able to move the line, give you a 360 on base. Not hitting for a lot of average though. But Pete Alonso, he had 3 home runs in the final 2 games of that series against the LA Dodgers. He's giving you about a 390 on base. Francisco Lindor, he's dealing with a little bit of ailment. Probably is going to be out for quite a bit of this series, so that's a little bit of an issue, but still, you're going to be able to have Luan Acuna be able to move the line, get on base for you. You have to think that you're going to be able to get a bit more moving forward out of Mark Vientos, who's only been able to hit about 230 with 6 home runs this season. Been a struggle for him, but Brandon Nimmo, though he's not hitting for average, he has been able to give you double-figure amount of homers as well. And for the Mets, this team enters into the series number 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Oscar Zobin being able to give you a sub-2 ERA has been very rock solid. You've had Reed Garrett give you some really good innings as well, and I do think that moving forward, you're going to continue to get great production out of Edwin Diaz, who's back down below a 250 ERA, back up to 14 punch-outs per 9 innings. So I do think that there's going to be some good, clean domination here, especially with Clay Holmes really rounding into form as the start of the season. For Clay Holmes, I mean, he was a cast-off of the New York Yankees, essentially, in the bullpen. He's been able to just have a second lease on life. 307 ERA, probably going to be a little bit of regression with that. 388 fielding independent. His strikeout numbers are down to about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's inducing soft contact, giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. So I'm going to be willing to lay that monster run line with the Mets. I set mine at a minus 224. I'm hoping that I can get like a respectable minus 2.5 number. And with regards to Soto, set mine at 10.8. I just don't think that the Rockies do their part with the Soto, so I'm in on the under. 913, 914 on the betting board. The Toronto Blue Jays are on the road against the Minnesota Twins, as you've got for the Twins, Mr. Chris Paddock on the bump for them, and Kevin Gausman is going to be going for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are in a rather pick-em game. They're in between a minus 105 to a minus 115, and between even money to minus 110 is that number on Minnesota. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105, and I feel like the Twins should be more like a minus 117 favorite. I like them on the money line. Chris Paddock had this just one really bad start to begin the year where he gave up 9 runs, was completely lit up like a Christmas tree. Ever since then, 3 earned runs or fewer, allowed in 11 straight starts. In his last 10, a 2.17 ERA, albeit the fielding dependent in this span is about a full point higher, but I mean, he's doing a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. He's not giving up a lot of walks, so you'd love to see that. And for Kevin Gausman, he's doing for a little bit of positivity as well. 3.82 ERA, but a fielding dependent of a 3.22. But here's the issue that you got with the Toronto Blue Jays. They're just really not generating any sort of production on the road with regards to their offense, as right now away from home they're averaging 3.04 runs per game. The Colorado Rockies and the Chicago White Sox are the only teams averaging fewer, and for the Blue Jays, it's honestly not a case where they're not getting on base. Like, you've got plenty of guys that are hitting for a very, very respectable average. You've got Vlad Guerrero Jr. drawing his walks. It's just that, again, this team is powerless. You've got a quartet of different guys: Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, George Springer, Dalton Varsho, all with 8 home runs. And Varsho is there despite the fact that he missed, I believe, 38 games this season. So that tells you where you're at there. And Varsho not really doing a good job of getting on base, but Springer's giving you 370 on base. Vlad Guerrero, 380 on base. Bo Bichette is hitting at 280. And then Anthony Santander has just been a big giant waste of money. He's hitting about $180 with 6 home runs. You expect much more out of him, and he's currently on the injured list. It's really not too much of a loss. Oleander Kirk, don't call his name. He's been able to give you a 300 average as well. Nathan Lukes is moving the line along with Addison Barger. Both of these guys are hitting for about a 270 or so, so they've done an okay job there. And for the bullpen, it's about league average in terms of their ERA. Yimi Garcia being on the injured list hurts them, but Uriel Rodriguez is able to give you some good long relief. Mason Fuhardy has been able to give you about a 3.20 ERA. They pick up Paxton Schultz. He and Brandon Little have been pretty rock solid, both giving you a sub-2 ERA as well. And then flip side, you got a pretty rock solid bullpen here with the Minnesota Twins, a team that has been in the top 5 all season long with regards to their ERA, with Yohan Duran really being able to lead the way, as he's been able to give you about a 1 ERA in that closer's role. Now, they are dealing with the injury to Danny Colum, who has yet to give up an earned run this season, but likes of Louis Varland, Justin Topa, Brock and Roll Stewart, all giving you a sub-3 ERA. That's been big for them. And for the Twins, this has been a team that they themselves have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run production. You do have Byron Buxton, who's giving you 10 home runs and is hitting at 265. And now you've got Trevor Larnach, about a 260 average, 9 home runs. They're rising up. And I love what I've seen out of Corey Clemens. He's been able to give you a 375 on base. He's finding a way on, but you need these guys at the bottom of the lineup, like when he gets at bats, Edouard Julien, Christian Vasquez, guys like this, they're aiming below a 215 to pick it up, and Royce Lewis, he has been absolutely awful this year. 1 home run in 79 at bats, hitting at 140. So, yeah, that's been a little bit rough. But that said, I do think for the Twins, they do find a way to be able to get the job done here against the Blue Jays. I did set a relatively mid-tier total. I set mine at an 8.2. Here at the 8, I do like the over. I do think that Paddock doing for a little bit of regression, but I do think that the Twins find a way to get the job done. So, like the Twins on the money line and this total over. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians are playing us to the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown is on the bump for the Astros, and Gavin Williams goes for Cleveland. Cleveland is a pretty good-sized underdog, between plus 112 to a plus 121. Meanwhile, you're finding between minus 130 to minus 137. That number on Houston, 7.5 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. Starting to see a 7 out there. That over is minus 125, and the under is plus 105. And for the Astros, if you're going to be willing to lay the minus 1.5 run line, right now I'm seeing that initial opener right around about a plus 130, and I will be willing to fire in on that. I was willing to take a plus 120 or better. Hunter Brown has been just absolutely magnificent for the Houston Astros. I recognize they had that one start a few weeks ago against the Tampa Bay Rays that was a little bit less than savory, but I mean, past that, he really has not faltered all season long. .83 ERA. His strikeouts per 9 rate is 10.3. He's giving up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 267 fielding independent. This guy has been the real deal. And for Gavin Williams, he's been doing a better job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, but man, it's still been a case where he's got a 3.80 ERA. Fielding independent's more around about a 4.38 because he's getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up about 1.2 home runs per 9. Not great, not terrible, but 5 walks per 9 innings is not so great. And it used to be where you could just go 4 or 5 innings and the Cleveland Guardians bullpen would just take care of things from there. Not this season. As for the Cleveland Guardians, they're right around average to slightly below average with regards to their bullpen ERA this season, as you've had Hunter Gaddis be really good. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, and then you've had actually Kobe Aller be really good in long relief along Cade Smith. Both of these guys, a sub-275 ERA. And Smith, he's a more of a one-inning guy, 14 strikeouts per 9 innings, but then you go down the list. Emmanuel Clase starting to pick it up a little bit, but he's posting up north of a 3.5 ERA. Joey Cantillo's not been too trustworthy. Matthew Festa has not necessarily been able to give you a ton of production, so I mean, that's been an issue. And what's a bigger issue is that the Cleveland Guardians are averaging fewer than 3.5 runs per game at home and are just a very top-heavy lineup, as you've been able to get good production out of Jose Ramirez, who's been able to give you 11 home runs. He's hitting at 330. He's been tremendous. And Steven Kwan at the leadoff spot is hitting above a 3 iron, so I have to like that. But Kyle Manzardo, even though he's been able to give you 11 home runs, he's hitting just a 210. Carlos Santana will line with about a 360 on base, but these guys at the bottom of the fold, like John Kenzie Noel, Bo Naylor, when you've given them opportunities, Austin Edges, hitting below the middle line of 200, that's a big issue. And for the Houston Astros, it has been a little bit of a just funky bunch team in general. You've had Brian King have a little bit of issue in the bullpen, but I mean, Josh Hader, Steven Oker, guys like this being able to give you sub-3 ERA along with Brian Abreu, they've been rock solid. And you've had Jeremy Pena really do a nice job of being able to generate offense for the team. 380 on base, 9 home runs. Isak Paredes all of a sudden up to 14 bombs and a 350 on base. Absolutely love what he's bringing to the table. Jose Altuve, after a rough start to the season, he's starting to give you more though. Christian Walker, Yanier Diaz below a 275 on base. You need a little bit more there, but we're starting to see some moments of brightness for Victor Carantini when he's been out there. Jake Myers is hitting about a 290 as well, so I do think that the Astros go out there, get the job done. What I think is going to be a nice little scoring game. I did set my total at a 7.7. Now 7.5, just a little bit too low for me because I do think that for the Astros, they get to Gavin Williams here and he just generates a lot of walks. So I'm going to be in on this total over. And with the Astros, I'm going to be willing to lay the run line here as I do think that they get to Williams. 9:17, 9:18 on the card. We've got the Chicago White Sox playing against the Kansas City Royals. Michael Wacha, and if he struggles in this start, he becomes a dying Pac-Man voice. Michael Wacha goes for the Royals, and Adrian Doogie Howser is on the bump for the Southsiders. And with the Chicago White Sox, you're going to be finding them as a pretty sizable underdog, as you're getting them in that neighborhood about a plus 128 to a plus 138. Meanwhile, that money line of the Royals between minus 147 to minus 157. 8 is the total. The over is between minus 115 to a minus 120. Unders between even and minus 105. And if you are looking at that run line of the Royals, you're going to be finding it at a very small plus number. At a plus 102, I was willing to go up to a minus 108. So I'm going to be willing to dive in. Now for Adrian Howser, I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression. He has somehow, some way been able to just figure it out this year. Like, he wasn't even good for AAA Round Rock earlier in the season. He comes up to the Chicago White Sox, and all of a sudden he's been able to put together a few gems. He allowed 3 runs in his last start, but 3 runs in total allowed in 3 starts. He's not necessarily getting a ton of strikeouts, only about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has induced a lot of soft contact, has yet to give up a home run this season, so that's been big. But Michael Wacha is also doing a good job of inducing that soft contact as well. 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 2.88 ERA. Again, he's pitched into a ton of contact. He's actually only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he has a lot of grand total of 7 runs over the course of his last 5 starts, 5 walks allowed in his last 5, so he's been able to do a really good job of hunkering down. And for the Royals, this is currently a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had Carlos Estevez and Lucas Hurstad be one of the best 1-2 punches in all of baseball. Steven Cruz has emerged as a really nice long guy. You've been able to have a guy in Daniel Lynch be able to give you a sub-3 ERA, so these guys are doing a really good job out there in the bullpen. And then you've got a Royals lineup that, well, they're really not holding up their part with regards to being able to hit. As for the Kansas City Royals right now, they do find themselves in the bottom 4 in all of baseball in terms of runs per game, albeit closer to about 3.8 runs per game away from home compared to 3.1 runs per game at home. And I mean, for Kauffman Stadium, never really been like a hitter's haven, but I didn't think it was that pitcher friendly. But that said, for the Royals, you're starting to get a little bit more out of Vinny Pasquantino. 8 home runs, about a 320 on base this season. And for Bobby Witt Jr., for most players, this is a solid year, hitting for a 350 on base, 285 average, and 7 home runs, but way down from where he's been in the past. Michael Massey has just not been able to move line for you. These guys like Hunter Renfroe, Mark Canha, that they were relying upon to be relatively good veterans, they just have gotten nothing out of them. Renfroe's no longer with the team, and Canha, he's been just banged up all season long, and Cavan Biggio, he's been an abject disaster for this team as well. He got sent down to the minor leagues, so that tells you where you're at. And Salvador Perez, 272 on base with 4 home runs, but you also got yourself a White Sox team that finds themselves in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, albeit they're getting a little bit healthier. Mike Tauchman is back, and he's been able to hit 300 in his small sample size this season, but you still have the likes of Joshua Palacios, Michael A. Taylor, Brooks Baldwin, Luis Robert, and 215 or lower. And Robert, he has got the 21 stolen bases, but man, this guy's not been great. Miguel Vargas has been able to give you 8 home runs, and Andrew Benintendi, 6 home runs as well. But for the White Sox, other than Mike Vasil, this has been an awful bullpen, and Vasil, they had to use him in a long roll of north of 3 innings a few days ago, so he's probably not going to be good to go in this one. You've gotten a little bit of production out of Brandon Iser, Jordan Leisure, both a sub 470 ERA, but Cam Bouger is posting up nearly a 5 ERA. Miguel Castro, Bryce Wilson is back in the bullpen. These guys have been all awful, and I do think that the Royals find a way to be able to get to Hauser and company and get the job done. Did somebody tell it at 8.3. Here at the 8, I do like the over, and I do like that run line of the Royals. 919, 920 on the betting board. The Boston Red Sox are on the road against the New York Yankees. Ryan Yarbrough is on the bump for the Yankees, and Garrett Crochet is on the bump for Boston. 8 is the total. Over and under, both at minus 110. Relatively pick 'em price here. You've got the Yankees at between a minus 106 to a minus 112, and between even money to a minus 108 is that number on Boston. And I did make Boston the favorite of minus 114. I'm going to be willing to back them, and I must say, I really like what I've seen of Ryan Yarbrough, as he was actually the originator of the opener. The Braves were utilizing it for him because they always found that when there was an opener to be able to clear the way from, he would always pitch better. He's now the exact opposite, as in the bullpen this year, he was nowhere near as successful as he has been as a starter. As a starter, he's posting up 2.08 ERA. He's given up 4 home runs in 26 innings. Coming out of the bullpen, he was giving up 3 bombs in 15 in the third innings with a 4.11 ERA. So go figure out, things have really reversed course there. Meanwhile, you've got on the flip side a guy in Garrett Crochet who's been a strikeout artist ever since being moved to a starter a season ago. 11 strikeouts, fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, a 198 ERA, doing for a little bit of regression, 268 fielding independent, but either 1 or 2 runs allowed in each of his last 5 starts, 8 plus punch-outs in 4 of his last 5 as well. So he's really been able to go over those strikeout totals as well. And for the Red Sox, they have been able to have a pretty rock-solid bullpen thus far. Brandon Bernardino, along with Aroldis Chapman, are both supplying a sub-2 ERA, though I don't know how long-lasting that's going to be. And you have Liam Hendricks on the injured list, just has not been able to pan out for him this season. You've had a little bit of an up-and-down season for Garrett Whitlock, but he seems to be rounding into form as a little bit more of a long guy. And for the Red Sox, the big concern is what are they going to be able to do in the lineup without Alex Bregman, as you still have Rafael Devers, 400 on base, 12 home runs, and Wilder Abreu entered in the series, 13 home runs. He's been with about a 250. And Ceddanne Rafael has been rock solid. He's now hitting for north of 250. That said, Trevor Story is a disaster. He's giving you 7 home runs at a 265 on base. You need more there. Jaron Duran is starting to move the line. He's hitting for about a 275, but Tristan Casas is out for the year, so they've had to deal with that. Kristen Campbell has been experiencing a lot of regression after a nice start to the season. And for the New York Yankees, this team does lead the American League in terms of overall scoring, with Aaron Judge, 21 home runs, 493 on base. base. You've got Paul Goldschmidt down with his power numbers, but give you a 380 on base. You've been able to have a good slugging percentage out of Ben Rice, who's been able to give you 12 home runs, about a 330 on base. Trent Grisham, 13 bombs, and his 330 on base has been rock solid as well. And now you're getting Jazz Chisholm off the injured list as well, but Luke Weaver no longer being the closer because of injury, that's an issue for this team, and Devin Williams has just been a disaster all season long, posting up on north of 6 ERA. It's been a little bit better recently, but still not great. Ian Hamilton is a roll of the dice. They're kicking the tires on Jonathan Loaizaga, who's now off the injured list. He and Yuri De Los Santos between a 3 to a 3.5 ERA, but that said, I do think that the pitching advantage is too great here for the Red Sox in a game where I do think that both of these teams are going to be able to get to the starters a little bit. Some I tell it at 8.1. Here at the 8, I like the over, and I do like the Red Sox on the money line. 921, 922 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners are on the road against the LA Angels. Jack Conowitz is on the bump for the Halos, and Luis Castillo goes for Seattle. Seattle, a minus 152 to a minus 164 favorite. And between plus 134 to plus 140. Then around Los Angeles, 9 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8.5, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 9, the under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And with the Mariners, I did set them on the money line at a minus 148. So if you're taking a look at laying a run half right now, again, the FanDuel openers are never necessarily the world's greatest with regards to run line. Right now, I'm finding in that at a plus 104. If we could get a plus 110, I'd be willing to dive in there. And I do think that when it's all said and done, we might be able to get that plus 110 run line. I just don't trust in Jack Conowitz whatsoever. 5.34 ERA. He's been absolutely getting pummeled, giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. And when you're not a strikeout guy, and Conowitz, he's getting fewer than 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, you have to not give up a lot of walks. 4.5 walks per 9 innings. So lots of issues there. Giving up approximately 4 runs in each out of his last 3 starts. And for Luis Castillo, he is way down with his strikeout numbers. Career low, about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's holding the ball in the yard. He has only given up 4 home runs at 68 and a third innings. Problem is, he's got a 3.03 ERA overall. This goes up to about a 4.13 when he is on the road. And for the LA Angels, the one thing that this team has been able to do is crank out the deep ball. As this team is a top 4 team in all of baseball in terms of their home run power, you now have Mike Trout back in the fold. He's been hitting for a little bit more average ever since coming out the injury list. As when he went on the injury list, he was actually hitting below the dose line of 200. But he and Zach Neto, 10 home runs this season. Neto's been able to hit about a 270. Nolan Schunall has been able to give you a 380 on base. Taylor Ward is up to 17 home runs. So got a lot of guys doing a nice job of being able to hit for power. But with Ward at 265 on base, Luis Renifo, 211 average with 1 home run. Thanks for showing up, buddy. Joe Adele setting fire to the rain. 9 home runs, but hitting about a 212 as well. And for the Angels, bottom 4 team with regards to bullpen ERA, they were trying to kick the tires on Robert Stevenson in the bullpen. He's lined it on the injured list. Hunter Strickland has been relatively okay, but among guys with at least 10 innings pitch, you don't have anyone with a sub 4.35 ERA. Connor Brogdon has been your most trustworthy reliever. Brock and Roll Burke has not been great, to say the least. When you're trotting out there someone like an Hector Neris, you know where your team is at. And for the Seattle Mariners, recognize that their bullpen last week when they were up against the Minnesota Twins was less than savory, but since coming off the injured list, Matt Brash has been nothing short of tremendous. He has yet to allow a run. Andres Munoz giving you a sub 2 ERA. Gabe Spire has been able to give you some good innings as well. They are dealing with a few injuries with regards to this bullpen, and Gregory Santos being in and out of the lineup has been rough, to say the least, but I do like where they're at. And for the Seattle Mariners, big dumper Cal Raleigh, 24 home runs this season. He has been absolutely supreme. And then you got Julio Rodriguez starting to pick it up. Ian Ore Polanco, 10 home runs. So I will say, as Rodriguez is picking it up, Polanco is starting to regress a little bit, but you've been able to have JP Crawford do a nice job finding way on base, nearly a 390 on base out of him as well. So the team's doing a nice job mixing and matching. They should get a little bit more out of Leody Taveras, who they picked up from the Rangers moving forward as well. And you've been able to have Dylan Moore be able to supply 8 home runs, doing a good job, be able to get on base as well. So when it's all said and done, I do think that will be on the Mariners in some form or capacity as these numbers move. As if I can get a plus 110 or higher, I'll be looking at that run line. And did sub by 9.2, so here at the 9, I like the over. 923, 924 on the betting board. It is the Orioles on the road against the Athletics. As it should be Luis Severino for the Athletics, but they've yet to list him on the betting board, so this is currently off the board. And this is a pain of betting these Athletics games. You just have no idea what you're going to get because they don't list their pitchers until like a few hours before the game. So we should get Luis Severino, and if we do get Severino, going with Charlie Morton, I set the Athletics at a minus 106 on the money line, so I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 105 there, plus 107 or higher looking at the Orioles, and then 10.8 is my total. 10.5 or less, I'm looking at the over, and 11 or higher to the under. Now, I will say this, if we do indeed get Luis Severino, which we should, he has got some demonstrative home and road splits, and I think that he's doing for a little bit of positivity in Sacramento, but I mean, man, the guy currently has a sub 1 ERA on the road. He has been very good there. He has given up, I don't think, a single home run on the road thus far this season. If he did, it's only one, but at home. 6.99 ERA. And it's not like he's given up a ton of bombs at home. He's only given up 4 home runs in 46 and a third innings. By Sacramento standards, that's pretty good. So I do think that he's doing for a bit of positivity. And Charlie Morton was doing for a little bit of positivity after his almighty brutal start to the season. And we have seen him pitch a little bit better ever since getting reinstated into the starting rotation. Last 2 starts, 2 earned runs, 3 runs in total allowed across 12 and 2/3 innings. Still have my question marks with him. 6.20 ERA, 4.24 fielding dependent. He's given up 4.5 walks and 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. And he does face off against an Athletics team that they've still been good at the plate. Now, it's an Athletics team that obviously has been all sorts of awful with their pitching. Right now, their bullpen ERA is dead last in the big leagues. Justin Cerner has been able to give you a few okay innings along Grant Holman. Both of these guys a sub 4.50 ERA, but I am really past that. You just have not had any sort of production out of this bullpen. Even Mason Miller, who was so trustworthy as a closer last season, he has seen his ERA rise up to north of a 5. You have not been able to get a ton out of a lot of these guys that you're trying to mix and match with. Sean Newcomb is now a little bit of a long guy for them. Tyler Ferguson, I guess he's been able to give you a sub 4.50 ERA, but you've had Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker, a combined 27 home runs. Both of these guys between a 3.33 to a 3.50 on base. Shea Langolaris, Shea is banged for 10 home runs. He's been able to do a nice job there. Jacob Wilson has been able to hit for north of a 3.60 as well. Lawrence Butler is starting to move the line again. You've got Miguel Andujar on the injured list, but still have guys that are able to find a way on base like Luis Urias and company. And on the flip side, you do have a lineup in the Baltimore Orioles that has really struggled this year. Now, they have been able to pick it up a little bit more in this road swing, and they've been able to win 6 straight games going to the day on Friday. Gunnar Henderson, Lon Jackson Holiday being a big reason why, a pair of 315 on bases. Now they're up to a combined 15 home runs. And Adley Rutschman, after an almighty struggle to begin the season, and really back half of the season last year as well, he wasn't that great. He's been able to give you a bit more power, a pair of home runs in that series against Seattle. Ryan O'Hearn, 9 bombs, 400 on base. Cedric Mullins, 10 home runs, but he's been dealing with injuries over the last few weeks, so he's been out of the fold. You need more out of these guys like Heston Kierstead, Tyler O'Neill and company. It's been less than tremendous there, and O'Neill has been banged up all season long. He lands back on the injured list, and they're probably going to have him played AAA a little bit as well. So you've had a lot of, shall we say, suspectness there, and for this Orioles bullpen, it's better than that of the Athletics, but not by much. You've had Felix Bautista see some regression this year. Yunier Cano, don't you know, he's posting up north of 4.5 ERA. Cerrito Dominguez is rocking nearly a 5 ERA. Gregory Soto has been a little bit better recently, but he still has not been amazing, so it's a very interesting circumstance. 10.5 or less, like the over 11 or higher to the under. For the A's, willing to lay up to a minus 105 on the money line, plus 107 or higher. Looking at the Orioles, 925, 926 on the card. The Cubs are on the road against the Detroit Tigers as Kadir Montero is on the bump for Detroit, and Jameson Taillon goes for the Cubs. Cubs do find themselves in a rather pick'em game. Going to be finding them anywhere between a minus 103 to a minus 110. Tigers are anywhere between minus 103 to a minus 110, with that total at an 8.5. Overs minus 110 to a minus 115. Unders between minus 105 to a minus 110. And I do like the over. I still might sell it at 8.9. I just don't really have a lot of faith in Kadir Montero. He's been able to give you an ERA that's hovering right around about a 4.05, but that 4.74 fielding independent is a little bit of a concern. He's been giving you only about 5.8 strikeouts and 3.6 walks per 9 innings. Not giving up a ton on the deep ball, but now you do face off against the Chicago Cubs team that is number 1 in all of baseball in terms of their overall runs per game, and you've got a quartet of different guys who will be able to give you at least 10 home runs as far this season, as you've been able to get that out of Pete Crow Armstrong, along with C.A. Suzuki, Dansby Swanson, Kyle Tucker, and in the case of Tucker, 395 on base. Suzuki, Armstrong, both hitting above a 265, and Carson Kelly, 9 home runs at 123 at-bats, about a 385 on base. He's been a very functional backup catcher for this team, and he and Miguel Amaya have done a nice job of platooning with one another, and then even the guys that aren't necessarily hitting the deep ball. Michael Busch is giving you a 375 on base. Nico Horner is hitting darn near a 300. These guys are doing a really good job of being able to move the line, and with regards to this Cubs bullpen, they're starting to find their way as well. They're now right around about league average with regards to their bullpen ERA after it was rough to begin the season. You've had a pair of really good finds in Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomeranz. These guys have been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. You've been able to get good production as well out of some of these guys that you've had to try to mix and match with, like Brad Keller, who's been giving you a little bit north of a 2 ERA. Ryan Brazier has dealt with injuries, but now you're getting him back as well. But for the Detroit Tigers, since the All-Star break of the 2024 season, they are number 1 in the big leagues with regards to their bullpen ERA, as you've got so many different guys that you're just able to mix and match with. Brendan Hennefy, Brian Herter, Tommy Canley, Will Vest, Chase Lee, all these guys giving you a sub-3 ERA. Most of these guys are able to go multiple innings, and for the Tigers, all of a sudden, they've been able to do a nice job with their offense as well. Three of different guys, Gary Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, 13 to 14 home runs apiece, as Green has been able to about a 280. You've got Gary Carpenter being able to move the line. Not drawing a lot of walks, but he does a nice job hitting about a 275. Torkelson will draw his walks. He's giving you about a 340 on base. And then Avi Baez being able to have his rise up. He's hitting for about a 275. Gleyber Torres has been a little bit shaky recently, but he and Zach McKinstry both are giving you north of a 360 on base. I do think that for the Cubs, they're going to be able to get a good enough start out of Jameson Taillon, who has been giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings, but still is playing a 3.76 ERA. He keeps things out in front of him. Doesn't give you a ton of swings and misses, about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.7 walks per 9 innings. Had that one just really rough start where he gave up a bunch of bombs to the Mets that really warped his numbers. So I'm going to be able to take a shot on the Cubs on the money line. I did set them at a minus 118, and like this over, it's set my total at 8.9. 927, 928 on the betting board. The Texas Rangers are on the road against the Washington Nationals. Mitchell Parker is on the bump for the Nats, and Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers. Rangers are minus 160 to minus 172 favorites, and between plus 140 to plus 148 is that number on Washington. 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8.5, under is minus 120, the over is even. On the 8, the over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with regards to the Rangers, I did set them on the money line at a minus 187. I was willing to go up to a minus 118 on the run line. Maybe I'm just foolish because this Rangers team has not really hit all season long, but I am a big believer in what Jacob deGrom is doing right now. That run line price is a minus 110 on the opener. I would be willing to lay that. Hopefully I can get a little bit better though, but for Jacob deGrom, guy has been just absolutely tremendous. After the first 2 or 3 starts of the season, he was giving up a little bit of the deep ball. That's why his fielding independence is a little bit higher. He did give up a few home runs in those first few starts. He's got a 234 ERA, fielding independent more around about a 364. Strikeout stuff has been down. He's only getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I mean, this guy is absolutely shoving. I combined 7 runs allowed over the course of his last 5 starts, so that's been highly impressive. He's been able to get 7+ strikeouts in 3 out of his last 5 starts as well, and he's been good at home. He's been good on the road. He's doing it all over. And for Mitchell Parker, he's been rough at home. He's been rough on the road. He's been giving up runs all over the place now. A 4.71 ERA. He has given up 3+ runs in each out of his last 6 starts. Fewer than 6 strikeouts to 4 walks per 9 innings. To his credit, he's not giving up the deep ball. He's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings, but when you're giving up that many walks and you're getting that much contact in general, that's really not your friend. And I will say this for the Washington Nationals. They've actually been able to really rise up in terms of their offense. A top 7 team in terms of runs per game in the month of May, as you've got a lot of power on this bunch with having James Wood giving you good wood for 16 home runs, about a 375 on base. And then you've got the likes of Josh Bell, Nathaniel Lowe, CJ Abrams. I'll give you between 8 and 9 home runs. For Lowe, he's only been able to give you about a 220 average, but now you've been able to get a little bit more out of CJ Abrams, hitting for about a 340 on base. I absolutely love the way that you've been able to have Ahmed Rosario move the line, hitting for about a 300 as well. Dylan Cruz needs to figure out his way at the big league level, but for the Nationals, dead last in the National League in terms of their bullpen ERA. After Jackson Rutledge was looking solid to begin the season, he's went down the toilet bowl. Brad Lord, he has went from starter to reliever, so that's helped the team out. You do have Andrew Chafin, Cole Henry, both give you a sub 365 ERA along with the closer and Kyle Finnegan, but Zach Brzezinski, Ore Lopez, guys like this have just not been able to figure it out. And then for the Texas Rangers, it's a functional bullpen. They're right around about league average with regards to the ERA. It's not necessarily been amazing, but they're figuring out with Jacob Latz giving you a sub 3.5 ERA. You've had really good production out of the likes of Hobie Milner along with Chris Martin. Both of these guys are giving you a sub 2 ERA. Robert Garcia, he's been acting up a little bit recently, but he and John Armstrong still a sub 365 ERA as well. So I do think that for the Rangers, they find a way to go out there and get the job done. I did set my total at 8.3. I do like that 8 over just because I do think that for deGrom, he gives up a few runs, and I do think that the Rangers get it going against Mitchell Parker. So like the over and the run line of the Rangers, and we wrap things up with 9:29, 9:30 on the card. The Tampa Bay Rays play us the Miami Marlins. Ryan Weathers is on the bump for Miami. Dodge don't call Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Rays. The Rays are minus 145 to minus 155 favorites, plus 130 to plus 135. That number on Miami. 9 is the total. Under is minus 120. The over is even. I did set my total at 8.8. I'm going to be willing to dive in on the under. I'm willing to take a shot on the Marlins if we can get at least a plus 136 when it's all said and done. I do think that we should be able to get that. As for Weathers, he has actually been able to do a really good job since coming out the injured list of giving the team good innings, which you haven't found too much of with this Miami Marlins team because they're also a bottom 6 team in the big leagues with regards to bullpen ERA. You've got a 382 fielding independent with this gentleman in Mr. Ryan Weathers, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but in 4 starts has been very rock solid for this team. And you've got a guy in Taj Bradley that he does have the propensity to give up the deep ball. And as I was talking about with Dylan Rockford in the last segment, do have to watch out for these warm temperatures in the state of Florida, as I do think that the ball is going to be flying during the summertime for Bradley. He's given up about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings throughout his career, down to about 1.1 this season, but strikeout numbers are also down. He's given up 3.5 walks and getting 8.2 strikeouts per 9. He has had his ups and downs this season, coming off of 10 punch-outs and one unearned run given up to the Houston Astros in his last start and sadly took the loss. So that was a little bit of tough luck there, but you know that the Tampa Bay Rays are going to do a nice job of backing him with a good bullpen, unlike the Miami Marlins. Again, with the Marlins, a bottom 16 with regards to bullpen ERA. You've had these guys like Lake Bakar, Anthony Veziano, George Soriano, all post up north of a 4.5 ERA. Fortunately, they used up George Soriano and Veziano yesterday, but Anthony Bender, he's been able to give you a sub 250 ERA along with Ronnie Enriquez. Past that, you just don't have a lot of trustworthiness, and for this Miami Marlins team, they're one of the most brutal offenses they're going to find in all of baseball. Kyle Sowers has been able to give 8 home runs, a 350 on base, but Arenado Lopez is hitting for about a 230 with not a ton of power. You've got Augustin Ramirez who's giving you 8 home runs and he's hitting a 250. That's actually been really nice. Eric Wagaman is moving the line. He has been able to hit for about a 260. You've got Matt Mervis have to be sent down to the minor league level though, and that was one of their big power bats. And Dave Myers is coming out the injury list, just has not been the same player. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, all of a sudden they become about a league average team with regards to their overall offense after it was rough to begin the season because Brandon Lau and Junior Caminero combined 27 home runs this season, and Caminero is now hitting for north of a 265. Yandy Diaz is giving you 8 bombs, still not hitting for the greatest average. Jose Calabrillo, both hitting about a 242, 245, but Calabrillo's been able to give you 20 stolen bases. Chandler Simpson got sent down to the minor leagues, and I don't get it, but Jake Magnum is hitting at 310 stolen bases and 93 at bats, so he's done a nice job moving line. And then for the Rays, you know that they're going to get the job done with regards to their bullpen. A top 16 with regards to bullpen ERA with the likes of Pete Fairbanks, along with Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez. You have him on the injury list right now, about Hunter Biggie. All these guys doing a solid job. Eric Orze has actually given you a sub-1 ERA, so it's an interesting circumstance. I do think that for the Rays, they are going to have Taj Bradley give up a few runs, but overall, I do think that Ryan Weathers holds down the fort and lends the value. A plus 136 or higher. Looking at Miami on the money line, and here are the 9. I like the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to Dylan Rockford, who does great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, so that means I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.